Hello everybody, here we are together again for some more lessons which I hope you'll find useful. Today I'm going to be dealing with the subject which in my opinion is the most important I've seen in the last few years and which is very topical for those who do show jumping, namely the approach to a jump. It's the thing everyone asks about and for which there's no immediate solution. How to judge distances. In the following lessons, I'm going to talk about and work over combinations because having observed pupils and riders of a certain level, I believe it's the type of jump which creates most difficulty. So how do we get around that? The only way is practice. Practice in trying to improve and correct our approach. So I've put up two combinations, one of uprights, because for the pupil and the young horse, uprights are easier to jump. They create less anxiety. I know it's easy to talk about the approach and keeping a regular pace, but the most important factor when someone keeps making mistakes is the fear of making mistakes, which then creates anxiety. You can only beat anxiety by doing exercises, by experience. Okay, so as I said, I've put up these two doubles, and I'll start with the simplest one, because the two-stride double is the simplest one. Just because if you go in wrong, you still have time to put things right, because you have two strides, so it's easier to rectify. I'll start by doing the double combination twice, and then afterwards I'll give a brief summary of what I was trying to do. So the basic idea is always to have a regular canter, one which doesn't create difficulties for you, so set the speed you're comfortable with. Because if you go fast, and your instructor will tell you to go at a good canter, but you have to find a canter that doesn't create any anxiety for you. Try to maintain the same canter. Start to look at the jump here and try to vary the canter as little as possible. Wait until you are 100% sure of the distance. I'll repeat it once again. Because the approaches are clear, you can really feel that the horse is beginning to relax, to let itself go, and listen to the rider. And that's probably the most difficult task for a rider or a pupil. Trying to stay calm in the final phase. You might have noticed that the three approaches were different. This is also because we're dealing with a living creature. Sometimes it speeds up, sometimes it stays calm. The second time was the best, I think, because the mare was very relaxed in the approach. On the third approach, there was a slight acceleration in the final part, and she jumped much higher into the air, and so the distance came up a bit short. The first one is the one which matters, and was the jump in which the mare was a bit stiff. She was a bit tense, and was trying to attack the jump. It's obvious that the only way of improving the approach to the double is to keep on doing it. You've seen three approaches in which I tried to make them identical. I didn't manage to do it the same way 3 times, and you can only try and ultimately manage to resolve this situation exclusively by repetition. Doing it again. So the advice is, keep on jumping doubles over and over. Now I'll do the other side on the left rein. On the right rein, we made the approach going towards home. This was to make things easier for the horse. The approach is easier too, as the horse facilitates the rider going towards home, as it's always happier going in the direction of home. Now I'll do the same on the left rein, twice on the left rein to see the difference, if there is a difference, or if it's the same. I'd say that on the approach, the mare was much more willing, more relaxed. This is definitely a result of the 3 approaches we did before, which were clear and left little room for doubt. Now she picked up speed a bit when we did the first jump. What's the reason for that? There isn't one. We're dealing with a living creature. I tried to approach the jump in the same way, but her reaction was completely different. That's why we need to continue to repeat the exercise to try to get used to all kinds of approach. Now the third exercise is the double, which lies along the other long side of the school. A one-stride double, so it's really important to arrive at it well. If you don't, you create problems which are very difficult to resolve in one canter stride. We'll try to arrive always in the same way. First, we'll jump towards home, and then a couple of times the other way. Okay, now I'm going to put the 4 together, twice on the left rein and twice on the right. I can tell you the biggest difficulty is trying to keep a regular canter. I'm sure most of you can do this working on the flat, and when you're jumping, it should become something which little by little will make things easier for you. Okay, let's stop for a moment. In the last approach, you saw that the horse got a bit scared, and that's all part of the game. A slight acceleration, and the rider had to make an adjustment. You can't foresee that. So, to sum up the exercise I'm advising you to do, start off jumping a combination with 2 strides. I started with a combination of 2 uprights. Later we'll look at other solutions. A combination of uprights with 2 strides. And when that becomes easy, Then you can start with a combination of oxa upright or upright oxa. It's up to you. And try to do it in one stride. When you can do this correctly, try to raise the jumps. The aim is to manage to jump the height you do in a competition. Better still, jump 5 to 10 centimeters more than you would in a competition. It's obvious this is a long job. I'm going to stop now, and I'll carry on in the next lesson, which will still be about combinations, but I'll be showing you things which are a bit more complicated. Goodbye, thank you, and enjoy your riding.